Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and stories that matter. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're taking a closer look at the ongoing migration crisis in Europe and how it's affecting countries like Ireland. Recent reports indicate that up to 90% of asylum seekers entering Ireland may be doing so through the common travel area, a loophole that allows individuals to enter the country without proper documentation. The Irish government has been working to address this issue, with the EU Migration Pact set to come into effect. This new agreement aims to create a common migration process across all 27 member states and speed up the application process for asylum seekers. However, critics argue that the pact may not do enough to protect vulnerable individuals, including unaccompanied minors. In response to these concerns, the Irish government has secured a contract with a management services company called AllPro Services to provide staff who will respond to the arrival of unaccompanied minors at ports and airports. These representatives will be responsible for ensuring that the child's best interests are central to all actions taken during the application process. While some advocacy groups have praised this move as a step in the right direction, others remain skeptical about the effectiveness of the EU Migration Pact. As the situation continues to unfold, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and work towards finding solutions that balance the needs of both migrants and host countries. We'll be exploring this topic further in upcoming segments, but for now, let's take a closer look at the numbers. According to recent figures, AllPro Services received over €24 million last year for providing accommodation for international protection applicants and Ukrainian refugees. The company has indicated that it can provide coverage for the entire country, with representatives capable of being present at a port of entry within 60 minutes of being notified. As we continue to follow this story, we'll be examining the potential implications of the EU Migration Pact and how it may impact asylum seekers and host countries alike. We'll also be discussing the role of companies like AllPro Services in providing support services for migrants. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into the world of politics now, where British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing a significant challenge to his leadership. The recent resignation of Defence Minister John Healey has sparked speculation about Starmer's ability to hold on to his position. Healey's departure was seen as a blow to Starmer, with the former minister citing the Prime Minister's inability to commit sufficient resources to defence as a key reason for his decision. Now, Starmer has come out swinging, rejecting the idea that he's lost authority and stating his intention to fight to keep his job. In an interview with the BBC, he emphasized that his top priorities are defense and security, and that he's made tough decisions to allocate more funds to these areas. However, it remains to be seen whether this will be enough to quell the growing unrest within his party. As we consider the implications of this development, it's worth noting that any potential successor to Starmer would face the same financial constraints that have been a major factor in the current situation. The UK's fiscal rules and the need for responsible spending decisions mean that whoever is at the helm will have to navigate these complex issues carefully. With several high-profile figures potentially eyeing the top spot, including former Health Minister Wes Streeting and Mayor of Manchester Andy Burnham, the coming weeks are likely to be filled with intense speculation and maneuvering. As the situation continues to unfold, we'll be keeping a close eye on developments and bringing you all the latest updates. Welcome back to Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, let's dive into a complex and developing story that has significant implications for global politics and the economy. The situation between the US, Iran, and Israel remains precarious, with ongoing negotiations and a fragile ceasefire in place. According to recent reports, a potential deal to reopen the Straits of Hormuz could be on the horizon, which would allow trapped tankers to resume travel and inventories to begin rebuilding. However, the details of the agreement are still murky, and confirmation from Iran is less than clear. One of the main concerns is that both sides have discussed red lines or terms that they consider essential to any agreement and beyond compromise. It's unclear if these issues have been addressed or if they might now be willing to compromise on them. The involvement of other actors, such as Israel and Hezbollah, adds another layer of complexity to the situation. The reopening of the straits would likely drive oil prices lower, at least initially, as traders' expectations shift in response to the news. However, it's essential to note that the security premium would not vanish entirely, and the potential for future attacks or retaliation could keep prices volatile. The US, Iran, and other parties involved will need to navigate a delicate balance to maintain the ceasefire and avoid reigniting the conflict. Local commanders may still have discretion to initiate actions against shipping and US military assets in the region, which could trigger a response from the US. As we move forward, it's crucial to monitor the situation closely and consider multiple perspectives. The outcome of these negotiations will have far-reaching consequences for global politics, economies, and energy markets. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.